Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, classmates. Tonight, we will report to you about the concept of governance. We are from Group 1, together with our group mates, and we are hoping that in the end of our report, we will able to comprehend and understand the concept of governance. We're able to define the meaning of governance and able to acknowledge the essence of governance.
Governance has been defined as the rules of the political system to solve conflicts between actors and adopt decision or legality. It has also been used to describe the proper functioning of institutions and their acceptance by the public or legitimacy. This means the government is a kind of process whereby public institutions conduct public affairs, manage public resources, and guarantees the realization of human rights in a manner essentially free of abuse and corruption and with due regard for the rule of the law.
Governance is the process whereby elements and society wield power and authority and influence and enact policies and decisions concerning public life, economic, and social development. Governance refers all process of governing the institutions process and practice through which issues of common concern are decided upon and regulated.
Governance. Verifying definitions.
Authority in a country is exercised government. It means that our elected leaders or politicians in our country have the biggest responsibility to make any plans and action for the entire development of the said nation. Like, for instance, the program about the farm to the market road, since our farmers have the easy access to display and sell their products to the market.
The way power is exercised through a country's economic, political, and social institution. World Bank's PRSP Handbook. As we notice to the news and even to our daily experience, our government leaders shows their many plans about our economic development in which they have the power to control any businesses and provide social institutions to make our life better.
The exercise of political, economic, and administrative authority to manage country resources development. It involves the institutionalization of a system through citizens, institutions, organizations, and groups in a society articulate their interests, exercise rights, and mediate their difference in pursuit collective good. Country government assessment since 2005.
The exercise of political and economic administrative authority to manage country's affairs at all levels. Citizen and group articulate their interests, exercise their legal rights, meet their obligations, and mandate their differences. It means that in governing the country or institution or organization must consider the rights and differences of others. Thus, leader must look the common good of everyone.
Citizens are rightly concerned with a government's responsiveness to their needs and protection of their rights. The ability of the government to develop an efficient, effective, and accountable public management or USAID Office of Democracy and Governance.
Governance refers to how any organizations, including a nation, is run. It emphasized the basic roles of the leaders as oversee the whole organizations and mission situations. Must look the entire happenings of the organizations and even the entire country.
The system, process, and procedures put in place to steer the direction, management, and accountability of an organization. Governance have a systematic rules in managing organizations and country. They are responsible and accountable in governing in the organizations or nations simply because leaders are elected by many.
My topic is all about promoting fairness, transparency, and accountability to World Bank. Governance, in essence, will provide transparency, fairness to all. This is a challenge to all leaders and even as individuals that we must be a good steward to all and adhere the importance of transparency and fairness.
Business organizations are directed and controlled. Corporate the governance is the system by which companies are directed and controlled. Boards of editors are responsible for the governance of their companies.
Manage countries' social and economic resources for development. Enforce policies in an efficient, effective, equitable, and inclusive manner, or the Asian Development Bank.
Institutional government, in which citizens interact among themselves and with government agencies, officials, ABB 2005. To have a good relationship towards each other, every individual must have a healthy interaction among themselves, like sharing of life, expenses, and sharing of time, effort, and even treasures if necessary.
The process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented. So, in making decisions and governing institutions and country have a process. Those, if the leader has a plan activity, it must be intellectually deliberated by the body, not for the sole decisions only. Simply because more heads are better than one head.
The interactions among structures, processes, traditions that determine how power and responsibilities are exercised, how decisions are taken, and how citizens have their say. IOD 2003. Governance entails responsibility in making decisions and open for any suggestions of all, especially the voice of the constituents.
Governance is not the sole domain of government, but transcends government to encompass the business sector and civil society. It means the term governance encompasses to all organizations. It is not exclusive but inclusive to all. It can transcend to all smallest sector of the country.
Governance is complicated by the fact that involves multiple actors, not a single helmsman. It means that in governing, the country or even organizations are not easy because it is a body system and have many things to be considered. Like for instance, in implementing the law of abortion, there are some people favor the said law and the others are not.
Decision makers must absorb this input into decision-making process. Decision makers are then accountable to the same stakeholders for the organization's output and the process of producing it. Enhances sustainability. Quickly identify and resolve any systematic issues, thus reducing livelihood of costly corporate crises and scandals. Example, during this pandemic, our leader find ways to resolve this pandemic and make any strategy to help the poor and the needy. As we discover in the news, there are many good individuals who become a good Samaritan to help our brothers and sisters.
What good governance promote?
Transparency and responsiveness. Provide ample information as to how and why decisions are made. Explanation. The body and the citizen must know about the plan of the leaders and knows the reason of its plans. Even the budgeting purpose must be transparent in order to avoid any corruption and biases.
Accountability. The governing body must be accountable for the decision that they make.
Sustainability. Operating a business without sacrificing or harming the environment in the process. In making the project, the leaders must adhere not to destroy the environment and not to harm the citizens.
Benefits of good governance. Increase trust. Develop stronger, long-standing relationship with other stakeholder organizations that are cognizant of the role that they play in wider society will typically seek to behave in transparent manner by providing clear and accurate information to their stakeholder on a regular basis.
Enhances sustainability. Quickly identify and resolve any systematic issues, thus reducing livelihood of costly corporate crises and scandals. Example, during this pandemic, our leader find ways to resolve this pandemic and make any strategy to help the poor and the needy. As we discover in the news, there are many good individuals who become a good Samaritan to help our brothers and sisters.
Encourage positive behavior. Culture plays in the success of an organization. Governance provides good characteristics. In other words, leaders must show values and good characters to the constituents because they are the instruments and the pillars of our country.
Lowers the cost of capital. Reduction of cost of capital. Any governance will always prevail, then basically our economic will grow.
Minimize waste, corruption, and mismanagement. Maintaining good governance practices will likely find that certain risks are drastically minimized.
How to improve governance in our community? I have some on how to improve governance. First is increase diversity. Corporate boards suffer from a serious lack of diversity. Second is appoint competent board members. Then we prioritize the risk management and evaluate board performance. I think that is one of our governments to make improve. And then how can we help our governments? How can we minimize our waste governance? So we buy in bulk to reduce packaging. Then we take a reusable shopping bag with you so you don't have to use a paper or plastic bag for a drop or shop. We choose product that use less packaging. And we buy usable items rather than disposable ones. So that is the good or waste governance. So there I discuss about corruption of governance. There is a corruption of our governance. The corruption of our governance is preventing good governance principles and structure from being put in place, especially the violation of the principles of transparency, accountability, and rule of law appear to be most closely associated with corruption.
According to Frank Herbert, good governance never depends upon laws, but upon the personal qualities of those who govern. The machinery of government is always subordinate to the will of those who administer the machinery. The most important element of government, therefore, is the method of choosing leaders. Before we end our report, we will leave you the saying that goes by. Good governance never depends upon laws, but upon the personal qualities of those who govern. The machinery of government is always subordinate to the will of those who administer that machinery. The most important element of government, therefore, is the method of choosing leaders.